They said he was overpaid, overrated, a goal scorer who disappeared when the lights were brightest, a player who padded his stats in the regular season, but struggled to consistently replicate that offensive dominance when the games actually mattered. For years, it was the same story, over and over again. The fans said it. The media repeated it. Auston Matthews wasn't worth the money. He was too quiet, too soft, not a leader, not the kind of guy who could carry a team through the fire, especially not in Toronto, where the spotlight burns hotter than almost anywhere else in sports, a city starving for playoff success, where the Maple Leafs hadn't won a single playoff round in nearly 20 years. But things aren't always what they seem, because behind all the noise, the pressure, the criticism, the non-stop expectations, Auston Matthews was doing something different. He wasn't clapping back at the doubters. He wasn't chasing headlines. He was just working, quietly, steadily, improving every part of his game, getting stronger, faster, smarter. Watching film, lifting weights, taking in everything around him, and slowly but surely, he was turning into something more than just a flashy goal scorer. He was becoming complete, and when the moment finally came, when the pressure was at its highest, he showed the world exactly who he really was. Not just a star, not just a scorer, but a player built for the biggest moments. And just like that, the critics were gone. The haters were silent. If Auston Matthews didn't figure it out, if he didn't step up when it mattered, he was on track to be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Because even while he was breaking records and lighting up the scoreboard like nobody in Toronto had done in decades, one thing kept coming back to haunt him: the playoffs. Every spring, the Leafs rolled into the postseason with big expectations, and every spring, they left with bigger disappointment. In 2021, they had a 3-1 series lead over Montreal, and blew it, a loss that still makes Leafs fans shake their heads. The following year, they pushed the back-to-back champion Lightning to a full 7 games, and still couldn't close it out. The offense went quiet. The pressure got to them, and every time the same question echoed louder than ever: where was Auston Matthews? In a city like Toronto, somewhere where hockey isn't just a sport but a way of life, that kind of question doesn't go away. It sticks. No matter how many goals he scored during the regular season, it always came with a side note. Yeah, but can he do it in May? Can he lead a team when it really counts? He wasn't just trying to win games anymore. He was fighting for his name. Because if he couldn't help this team get over the hump, that label was going to follow him forever. A regular season guy. A guy with great stats, big contracts, and nothing to show for it in the postseason. Another flashy forward in a city filled with ghosts. That was the weight he carried. Not just in big moments, but in every shift, every media scrum, every fan interaction. And heading into his prime years, time was running out to flip the story. But Matthews never ran from that pressure. He didn't hide from it. He embraced it, quietly, steadily, just like he always had. Auston Matthews wasn't supposed to be a hockey star, not even close. He was born in Scottsdale, Arizona, a place more famous for golf courses and scorching summers than icy rinks and hockey dreams. Back then, hockey in the desert wasn't taken seriously. It wasn't part of the culture. Most kids grew up wanting to play baseball or football, and that's exactly where Auston started. He loved baseball, studied box scores, memorized batting averages, carried his glove everywhere. But everything changed when he was 5 years old. His uncle brought him to a Phoenix Coyotes game, and that was it. The roar of the crowd, the speed of the game, the way the puck moved, it hit him instantly. He was hooked. The moment he stepped into that arena, baseball was out. Hockey was in. And from that day on, it was all he wanted to do. But chasing that dream in Arizona wasn't easy. There weren't many rinks, not a lot of elite coaches, not much of a path to the NHL, so he had to build his own. He'd wake up before sunrise to get ice time before school. At 4:30 in the morning, when most kids were still asleep, Matthews was lacing up his skates. His mom, born and raised in Mexico, made sure he stayed humble, respectful, and grounded. His dad, who had played college baseball, taught him discipline and work ethic. The Matthews household didn't care that hockey wasn't the easy choice. If this is what Auston wanted, they were all in. And even with all the odds stacked against him, he stood out. By the time he was 10, coaches in Arizona were already talking, not just about his goals, but about his vision, his poise, his quiet focus. He wasn't just good for a desert kid, he was just good, period. And the better he got, the more people stopped caring about where he came from, because they could see where he was going. Now in 2025, he's still going, still climbing, still proving that greatness can come from anywhere, even a kid raised in 100-degree heat chasing a cold weather dream. By the time he was a teenager, Auston Matthews had become one of the most talked about young players in the world. He didn't just dominate Arizona, he dominated everywhere. and instead of taking the traditional route, through Canadian juniors or NCAA hockey, he made a decision that shocked a lot of people. At just 17, Matthews left home and moved to Switzerland to play professional hockey. It was rare, almost unheard of for a North American prospect, but it was classic Auston. He didn't want easy. He wanted real competition. He wanted to prove he could hold his own against grown men in a pro league, and he did exactly that. Game after game, he impressed scouts with his skating, his puck control, and his ability to slow the game down. He didn't just survive in Europe, he stood out. So, when the 2016 NHL draft rolled around, there was no question, no debate. Auston Matthews was going first overall, and that's exactly what happened. The Toronto Maple Leafs, one of the most historic, most scrutinized franchises in all of hockey, handed the keys to a 6-foot 3-inch teenager from the desert. And in his very first NHL game, he delivered a performance that still doesn't feel real. 4 goals in one night on his debut. It had never been done before. Leafs fans, starved for hope, after years of misery, suddenly had someone to believe in. Maybe this was the guy. Maybe this was finally the start of something. But in Toronto, belief turns to pressure fast. As the seasons went on, Matthews kept putting up numbers. 30 goals, then 40, then 60. His shot was deadly. His release was a blur. And when he got into rhythm, he looked like the best pure goal scorer on earth. But even that wasn't enough to quiet the noise. Some said he didn't play defense. Others said he wasn't vocal enough in the room, that he lacked grit, that he was too American to understand what it meant to lead the Maple Leafs. And in Toronto, once that narrative starts, it doesn't go away. Then came the contract. In 2019, Matthews signed a massive extension worth over $11 million a year, one of the biggest deals in NHL history. And with that deal came even more pressure. Every missed shot, every quiet playoff series. Every time the Leafs lost, the finger pointed back at him. Overpaid, not a winner. All stats, no leadership, and the team's postseason record didn't help. Boston, Columbus, Montreal, Tampa. Year after year, the Leafs came up short. Early exits, broken expectations, and through it all, Matthews wore the target on his back. Was he just another star who couldn't carry the weight? This was the moment it could have all fallen apart. The expectations, the constant media heat, the growing doubt. For a lot of players, that would have been too much. But Matthews didn't fold. He didn't lash out. He didn't shift blame. He went back to work, quietly, like he always had. And from that moment on, something started to change. During the 2021 to 2022 season, something shifted. A new Auston Matthews stepped onto the ice. Not just in how he looked, but in how he carried himself. He came into camp leaner, quicker, sharper, but more importantly, he came in with a different mindset. It wasn't about headlines or highlight reel goals anymore. It was about becoming the kind of player who could take over games in every area of the ice. He started battling harder along the boards, took pride in winning faceoffs, committed to killing penalties. He added a defensive edge to his game, not reckless or showy, just smart, calculated, and consistent. The same people who once called him soft were now watching him shut down top players on both ends of the rink. And still the goals kept coming. Only now they felt different, more efficient, more unstoppable. One-timers from the circle, quick tap-ins on the doorstep, laser wristers off the rush. No matter how teams adjusted, he found a way to beat them. By the end of the season, he hit 60 goals, a number the NHL hadn't seen in over a decade, a number that had once belonged only to legends. He won the Rocket Richard Trophy, he won the Hart Trophy, and for the first time, the conversation changed. The question stopped being about what Matthews couldn't do, and finally started focusing on everything he could. But this was Toronto, and in Toronto, regular season stats only take you so far. The real test came in the 2022 playoffs. The opponent, the Tampa Bay Lightning, two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. A team built for pressure. A team that had ended plenty of dreams before. And if the Leafs failed again, it would erase everything. The 60 goals, the MVP buzz, the complete game. All of it would be buried under another year of disappointment. Game 6. In Tampa, series tied, season hanging by a thread. Late in the third, the puck kicked loose out front. Matthews didn't hesitate. He stepped into it, ripped it top shelf, clean, calm, and cold-blooded. That goal didn't just seal the game, it sent a message. He turned to the bench and let out a yell. Raw, loud, and unfiltered. For the first time, the hockey world saw just how much it meant to him. Coach Sheldon Keefe said it best. That's what superstars do. His teammates rushed him. The fans back home went wild. And the critics? Silent. That wasn't just a goal. That was a shift in the story. That was the night Auston Matthews arrived. That was the moment he silenced every hater. The whispers stopped. The narrative flipped. And for the first time in years, the noise around him wasn't criticism. It was respect. Earned, not handed. So what actually makes Auston Matthews different? It's not just the goals. Though he's got more of them than almost anyone in the league today, it's how he sees the ice, how he thinks 3 steps ahead. Where most players chase the puck, Matthews already knows where it's going next. It's the little shifts in body position, the way he opens up space, the way he controls the pace of a shift without even touching the puck. That's not something you can teach. That's elite hockey IQ, and he has it in spades. And off the ice, he keeps it simple. No drama, no spotlight chasing, just a quiet focus and a routine that hasn't changed much over the years. He stays close with family, keeps his circle tight, and pours everything into the game. Ask anyone who plays with him, they'll tell you the same thing. He leads by showing up, staying ready, and doing the work. Leafs coach Sheldon Keefe once said, "He's not just our best player, he's setting the tone for the entire room." And in a city like Toronto, that kind of presence matters more than most people realize. Because through everything, the media storms, the playoff heartbreak, the contract pressure, Matthews never cracked, never made excuses, never blamed anyone. He just got back to work every single time. That's not luck, that's leadership. Now in 2025, Auston Matthews is still adding chapters to his story. But the book so far is already one of the most impressive in Maple Leafs history. He's won the Rocket Richard. He's scored 60 goals in a single season. He's been named League MVP. And most importantly, he helped end a playoff drought that had haunted Toronto for 19 straight years. For fans who had waited their whole lives just to see a playoff win, he delivered that moment. But the story isn't over. He's still only 27 years old, right in the middle of his prime. And with Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Morgan Rielly, and a deeper, more experienced team around him, the Leafs are still chasing the dream that matters more than any stat line, the Stanley Cup, the prize that's been just out of reach since 1967. So can Auston Matthews be the one to finally bring it home? We don't know yet, but what we do know is that he's no longer just a kid from Arizona with a big shot. He's the heartbeat of the team, the face of the franchise, and maybe, just maybe, the guy who finishes the story Leafs fans have been waiting generations to read. If you made it this far, thank you. These videos take countless hours of research, writing, and editing to make sure every detail hits just right. So if you enjoyed the story, please leave a like, and if you want more deep dives like this, hit that subscribe button. It seriously helps more than you know, and keeps this channel going strong.